everyone, it's Kelly here. Welcome to my channel if this is your first time. Welcome back if you've been before. Lovely to have you either way. On this channel we talk books, and today I am bringing you a very big book haul, as is my style. Most of these books are secondhand. There are a few new ones. We're going to start with those, and I'm going to try and be speedy today because there is quite a stack and I only have 40 minutes of recording time left on my camera right now, so let's see if we can get it done. I'm going to start off with a fun one for me, this in the new category, and that is this one, which is the catalogue, I guess, for the 2025 Archibald Prize. So if you're not Australian or based in New South Wales, you might not be aware of the Archibald Prize. It's a portraiture prize that is run at the Art Gallery of New South Wales. And I recently attended. The exhibition has now finished, but yeah, I was able to go, and I always like to get the catalogue. I've got a little collection of them just up here. So yeah, this is the one for this year, and it has all of the shortlisted entrants, and then it also has the information provided by the artists about the portrait. So very excited to have this in my collection, and I will definitely be perusing it at some point. The next one is one that I only very recently heard. I've never heard anyone talking about this one, so I don't know anything about it from recommendation. I just saw it and was like, that sounds really great, so I picked it up, and it is called Girls Against God, a novel by Jenny Hval, who is the author of Paradise Rot. I have heard of that as well, but this is translated, I believe. Let me just find the name of the translator. By Marjam Idriss, and it's, I believe, Norwegian. It's certainly set in Norway, so that gives me the indication this might be a Norwegian author. Let me just see if there's something in the back. Yes, a Norwegian writer and musician. So there you go. Let me tell you a little bit about this book, because it just sounded really interesting. Welcome to small town Norway. White picket fences run in strict rows and strict white Christian values run deep. Here, a teenage woman gives in to the lure of rebellion offered by the upstart black metal scene. She is a creature of obscure creativity and of a hatred she holds dear. She moves to Oslo, a site of weird convergences. A coven of witches cook up curses. Demons descend on a cafeteria. A time-travelling Edvard Munch joins a metal band, closely pursued by his pubescent model, who has murder on her mind. Meanwhile, out in the deep forest, a group of schoolgirls lose their way and find only terrible strangeness. Awful things happen in Aspic. Jenny Hval's latest novel is a radical fusion of feminist thought, an experimental horror, and a unique treatise. Treatise? It's one of those words where I've seen it written down, but I don't think I've ever heard anyone say it out loud. Anyway, a unique treatise on magic, writing, and art. So it just sounds really interesting. Not that I'm massively a horror reader, but this sort of sounds like weird, which works for me. We like weird here. Okay, the next book I picked up is also a translated book. It's called The Books That Devoured My Father by Afonso Cruz, translated by Margaret, Jull, Costa. This is a Portuguese writer, and this is a book I've picked up for my Reading Around the World book club. This is the book we've chosen for Portugal. So this one says, Vivaldo Bonfim was a bored bookkeeper whose main escape from the tedium of his work was provided by novels. In the office, he tended to read rather than work, and one day became so immersed in a book that he got lost and disappeared completely. That, at least, is the version given to Vivaldo's son, Elias, by his grandmother. One day, Elias sets off, like a modern-day Telemachus, in search of the father he never knew. His journey takes him through the plots of many classic novels, filled with murders, all-consuming passions, wild beasts, and other literary perils. So that should be an interesting read. This is one I just picked up in a bookshop, so these next two actually, just at my local bookshop. And this was one that I just sort of came across. It's called Poems Chosen by Paul Kelly. Love is Strong as Death is, I think, the title. Love is Strong as Death is the title. Poems Chosen by Paul Kelly. Paul Kelly is an Australian musician who has been around for decades, and he is his writing, his lyrics that he writes can tend poetic, but he also has put a number of poems to music, so some of those are in here, but this is literally just him kind of showing poems that he really likes. And he's got really good taste, and I know this because I flicked through, and because I was like, you know, when you get a poetry collection like this, you kind of think, okay, well, we'll see, but like the ones that I flicked to were all really good, so I'm really interested to get into this and to see the poetry that Paul Kelly recommends. So that will be an exciting one. It might be one that I sort of read over time, or maybe just dip in and out of rather than reading all in one go. So we'll see. And the other one I picked up is called Cure by Katherine Brabon. I have read Body Friend by this author, and I really liked it. It's about chronic illness, Body Friend, and so is this. So I was very excited. I didn't know this was coming out, and so when I found it in the bookshop, I was really excited. So this one says, her body hurts her all the time now. It is separate, a thing apart. In her mind, it has become a person or an object that is not quite her, that she doesn't know. Vera and Thea are mother and daughter. Vera writes for the internet. She constructs identities and scenarios for brands to cater to the ideal consumer. Yet she also consumes the offerings of the online world herself, the addictive pursuit of a cure, the narrative she craves in which mother and daughter find a way out of the shared experience of chronic illness. She becomes preoccupied with a blog written by a woman named Claudia, a mother whose daughter also has a chronic illness. While on holiday in Italy, Thea writes in her journal. She is also constructing a character, an image of herself as she grapples with having the same illness as her mother, Vera. But gradually another person emerges in her journal, through her imaginings of her mother in the same house, the same city, at the same age. They have come to Italy to see where Vera's family originates, but also to chase a promised cure in the form of a man said to be able to heal Thea's illness. As they both grapple with their own narratives about their bodies and their wellness, all may not be as it seems. Perhaps a story does not necessarily need to be true for us to believe in it. This sounds like shades of Body Friend, so I'm very excited to get to that one at some point very soon. And the last of the new books to show you is this one, Heathen, The Complete Heathen. This is by, I want to say Natalie Alterici. Does it say? It just says Alterici. Here we go. Natasha Alterici, sorry, my bad, who is the writer and artist, so she's the creator of this. This is the complete saga. And then there are also several other authors and illustrators involved. Ashley A. Woods, Rachel Deering, and Morgan Martinez. So, yeah, this is basically an omnibus of this comic, and I've read some of this a long time ago, and I found this bind up of it and was excited to kind of revisit the bits of it that I'd already read, and then to continue on and complete the series. So I'm excited to read through this at some point. I'm just really glad to have it in my collection. It was on sale. I was excited. So those are the new ones. Let's get on now to the secondhand portion, and this is a towering pile of books. I'm going to start with a gifted book. So this is a book that my husband picked up for me, and actually part of it I have already read. And that is Emma Thompson, The Sense and Sensibility, Screenplay and Diaries. So this, I have read the Emma Thompson Diaries of Sense and Sensibility many years ago now, and really enjoyed them. And then for some reason, I must have given the book away. I can't find it anywhere, and I was talking to my husband about how I would like to revisit it, and then he found this. And this also includes the entire screenplay of the film. So I don't know that I'm going to read through that. Maybe I will. But there's also lots of cast photos from the film, and there's also an introduction by one of the producers, I believe, Lindsay Doran. Yeah, who I think is a producer. So anyway, I now have this to reread at some point and maybe to peruse the screenplay. So I'm excited that that is now in my collection again because I missed it. All right, another book that I got for free. So that was a gift. This one I was able to get for free. And it is called Lives of the Artist Keith Haring by Simon Doonan. And this is obviously a little book all about the artist Keith Haring, who I am interested in. I'm interested in his art. So yeah, I think it might just be essays. Maybe. I'm not really sure, but I got it for free. And then there's like a photograph section in the middle as well. So that's really exciting. There are some really cool, so there's other ones as well in this series that I might look at getting at some point. And apparently forthcoming is one on Yayoi Kusama, which is I'm excited about because I really like her. So I will peruse this at some point, I'm sure. Okay. Now on to the ones I have paid money for. But again, these are secondhand from a variety of places. I've been out and about quite a bit this month, so I've managed to pick up quite a few things. So we're going to start with the non-fiction, then we're going to talk about some classics, and then get into the fiction in general. So non-fiction, starting with The World of Charmian Clift. In my last haul video, I talked about this author. I had hauled another book of hers, which was her two of her memoirs written when she lived in Greece. This one is actually, so she wrote for a newspaper. So this is a collection of essays that were published in that newspaper. Maybe, yeah, so majority come from her last two years of writing for the Melbourne Herald and the Sydney Morning Herald. So yeah, this is just various essays about various things that she wrote for the newspaper. So I will at some point get onto that. And I if you remember from my last haul video, Charmian Clift has just sort of been like coming up for me. So I think I'm just excited to kind of get into her writing in general and kind of learn a little bit more about her. The next non-fiction book that I picked up was one that had been on my wish list, and I found it secondhand, which was very exciting, and that is The Argonauts by Maggie Nelson. I heard about this, I don't know who from, some time ago now, and put it on my wish list. But yeah, was very, very excited to find it, just randomly, not looking for it, and then there it was. The Argonauts is a timely and genre-bending memoir that offers fresh and fierce reflections on motherhood, desire, identity, and feminism. At its heart is the love story between Maggie Nelson and her fluidly gendered partner, and their journey to and through pregnancy, inspiring a rigorous exploration of sexuality, gender, and notions of family. An insistence on radical individual freedom and the value of caretaking becomes the rallying cry for this thoughtful, unabashed, uncompromising book. Sounds amazing. Very excited to get into that at some point. Another memoir is this one, The Position of Spoons by Deborah Levy. The Position of Spoons and Other Intimacies is the byline. I believe this is non-fiction. So it just says, in The Position of Spoons, Deborah Levy invites the reader into the interiors of her world, sharing her most intimate thoughts and experiences as she traces and measures her life against the backdrop of the literary and artistic muses that have shaped her. From Marguerite Duras to Colette and Ballard, and from Lee Miller to Francesca Woodman and Paula Rego, we can relish here the richness of their work and, in turn, the richness of the author's own. Each page draws upon Levy's life in exalting ways, encapsulating the wonderful precision and astonishing depth of her writing as she seamlessly shifts between and meditates on questions of mortality, language, suburbia, gender, consumerism, and the poetics of everyday living. Sounds really good. From the child born in South Africa to her teenage years in Britain, to her travels across the world as a young woman, each page is a beautiful tender composition of the questioning self, a portrait of Deborah Levy's writing life and intellectual vitality in all of its dimensions. This sounds great. Very excited to have this in my collection. And the last of the non-fiction, hopefully I haven't missed anything in the pile as I was sorting it out, is Didion and Babitz by Lili Anolik. I'm not sure how to pronounce this author's surname. Apologies if I've said it wrong. This is obviously a biography of Joan Didion and Eve Babitz, who are sort of like the darlings of the book world now. They were around in, I think their kind of peak period was like the 60s and 70s maybe. But Eve, it says on the back that Eve Babitz died on December 17, 2021. Found in the rack, ruin and filth of her apartment, a stack of boxes packed by her mother decades before. Inside, a lost world centered on a 2-story rental in a down at heel section of Hollywood in the late 60s and early 70s. 7406 Franklin Avenue was the making of one great American writer, Joan Didion, a mystery behind her dark glasses and cool expression. Franklin Avenue was also the breaking and then the remaking, and thus the true making, of another great American writer, Eve Babitz, goddaughter of Igor Stravinsky, nude of Marcel Duchamp, consort of Jim Morrison, among many, many others, a woman who burned so hot she finally almost burned herself alive. Didion and Babitz formed a complicated alliance, a friendship that went bad, amity turning to enmity. With deftness and skill, journalist Lili Anolik uses Babitz's brilliance of observation, Babitz's incisive intelligence, and most of all, Babitz's diary-like letters found in those sealed boxes, letters so intimate you don't read them so much as breathe them, as the key to unlocking Didion. Sounds fascinating. Okay, so that is the non-fiction. I've picked up a couple of classics. This one is a Confederacy of Dunces by John Kennedy Toole. The reason I picked this up is because this is my husband's favourite classic, and I've never read it before. Also, and this copy is in much better nick than his is. So I was very happy to find this. So I don't really know much about it. And again, with classics, usually when I'm doing a haul, we don't go through what they're about because they're classics and they're very easy to find information about. So that's a Confederacy of Dunces. Another one that I picked up was The Bloody Chamber by Angela Carter. It's actually The Bloody Chamber and Other Stories. So this will be short stories by Angela Carter. Let me see how many there are in here. Oh, quite a few. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10. So there are 10 short stories in here by Angela Carter, so that's exciting. And then the last of the classics that I picked up was The Chant of Jimmy Blacksmith by Thomas Keneally, who is an Australian author. And this is a classic, I think maybe written in the 70s, potentially. Let's have a look. First published in 1972, so a modern classic, I guess, technically. All right, let's get on to now the fiction part of the secondhand books that I picked up. The first one is Small Gods by Terry Pratchett. This is from the Discworld series. Whenever I see ones that I don't have, I just pick them up. I don't know where this one falls in the list, nor do I know which of the sort of sub-series it's part of. I will look that up at some point, and I'm not going to get to this soon, but I'm excited to now have it in my collection, so when I am ready, it's there. Another one I picked up is Earthlings by Sayaka Murata. I have read Convenience Store Woman by this author and really liked it. I know this one is quite different, and some people have said very strange and kind of a bit creepy maybe. So we'll see if this is something that I get along with. But it does, on the back it says, as a child, Natsuki believed she was an alien, a different species to her Earthling family and classmates. She hoped a spaceship would come down and take her home. Now she lives quietly in an asexual marriage, pretending to be normal. But the buried horrors of Natsuki's past are pursuing her. As she flees the suburbs for the Nagano Mountains and a reunion with her beloved cousin Yu, she wonders what will it take to escape the Earthlings. So we'll see if this is for me. We'll find out. Actually, I should have included this one in the classic section because this is also a classic Australian novel, Monkey Grip by Helen Garner. This one has an introduction by Charlotte Wood, which is interesting. And I believe this one also was the 70s as well. Yeah, 1977. When Nora falls in love with Javo, she is caught in the web of his addiction, and as he moves between loving her and leaving, between his need for her and promises broken, Nora's life becomes an intense dance of loving and trying to let go. Helen Garner's gritty, lyrical first novel divided the critics on its publication in 1977. Today, Monkey Grip is regarded as a masterpiece. It shines a light on a time and a place and a way of living never before presented in Australian literature. Communal households, messy friendships, children, music, love, drugs, and sex. Life in all its grim ordinariness and radiant glory. So at some point I will get onto that one. Exciting to now have it. I've picked up a copy of 10 minutes 38 seconds in This Strange World by Elif Shafak. This was shortlisted for the Booker Prize in 2019 apparently. But I have I read an Elif Shafak? Did she write I feel like she wrote the tree one. Maybe. If so, I'll put it up on the screen. I've just heard of this one, which is why I picked it up. So, it says on the back, for Layla, each minute after her death recalls a sensuous memory, spiced goat stew, the goat sacrificed by her father to celebrate the birth of a yearned-for son, bubbling vats of lemon and sugar to wax women's legs while men are at prayer, the cardamom coffee she shares with a handsome student in the brothel where she works. Each fading memory brings back the friends she made in her bittersweet life, friends who are now desperately trying to find her. 10 minutes 38 seconds in This Strange World is an intensely powerful and richly evocative novel from one of the greatest storytellers of our time. That sounds really good. So, glad to have that one now. I also picked up Your Driver is Waiting by Priya Guns. Again, just because I've heard of it, there wasn't anything particularly that pulled me to it, but I just remember hearing good things about this when it came out. Damani is tired. Every day she cares for her mum, drives ride shares to pay the bills, and is angry at a world that promised her more before spitting her out. The city is alive with protests fighting for people like her, but Damani can barely afford, literally, to pay attention. That is until the summer she meets Jolene and life opens up. Jolene seems like she could be the perfect girlfriend, attentive, attractive, and ally, and their chemistry is undeniable. Jolene's done the reading, she goes to every protest, she has all the right answers, so maybe Damani can look past the one thing that's holding her back. Jolene is rich, and not only rich, but white too. But just as their romance intensifies, just as Damani learns to trust, Jolene does something unforgivable, setting off a truly explosive chain of events. Brimming with heart, humour and rage, Your Driver is Waiting is a powerful, blackly funny social satire that announces the arrival of a fearless new voice. This sounds really good, so I'm excited to have that. I picked up Storyland by Katherine McKinnon. Katherine McKinnon interviewed some people at the South Coast Readers and Writers Festival, but I've never read any of her work before. I'm sort of only vaguely aware of her, but she was a really interesting interviewer. So let me tell you about this one. Telling the stories of 5 very different people, Storyland weaves together a compelling narrative. In 1796, Will Martin, a young cabin boy, goes on a daring voyage of discovery with Matthew Flinders and George Bass. In 1822, a desperate ex-convict, Hawker, commits an act of terrible brutality, and in 1900, Lola is running a dairy farm with her half-brother and sister. When they come under suspicion for a crime they did not commit... that's the end of that sentence. When they come under suspicion for a crime they did not commit. In 1998, Belle goes on a rafting adventure with her friends and is unexpectedly caught up in violent events. And in 2033, Nada sees her world start to terrifyingly collapse. Intriguingly, all these characters are connected, not only through the land and water they inhabit, but also by tendrils of blood, history, memory, and property. So that sounds very interesting. Also, almost there. 5 more to go. This is Wandering Stars by Tommy Orange. I believe this is the follow-up to There, which was the debut, and this one sort of is a bit something of a sequel. Like, it has the same some of the same characters in it, maybe. I hold a copy of There a while back now. It might have even been last year. I still haven't read it, of course, but I found this one and decided to pick it up as well. So because this is a sequel of sorts, I don't think I will read out the back of it, but I have it. It's here. This was another very interesting find for me because it's another book that was on my wish list. And again, I cannot remember who I heard talking about this book, but I had put it on my wish list after hearing this person, and here it is. Found it secondhand. Very exciting. A Day in the Life of Abed Salama by A Palestine Story by Nathan Thrall. So this is something I had been looking to get at some point and just happened to find it secondhand, which was amazing. They are all... Just says, a gripping, intimate story of one heartbreaking day in Palestine that reveals lives, loves, enmities, and histories in violent collision. So I think that's all we get to know about. But this came out in 2023, so this preceded the current genocide that is occurring in Palestine, or the current iteration of the conflict. So this will be kind of, not necessarily a reflection of what's currently going on in Palestine, but definitely looks to be an interesting read. Okay, on to something a little lighter as well. I got a copy of Great Big Beautiful Life, which is Emily Henry's newest, this is the newest one, right? I think so. This is the one that came out this year. Yeah, came out in 2025. Got a secondhand for $5. For a bargain. I read Book Lovers by Emily Henry and really loved it. I have sort of been slowly picking up her other books secondhand, so I was very excited to find her most recent one. Though I have heard mixed reviews of this one. Not everybody enjoying it, sort of thinking that it is very similar to... Evelyn Hugo. What's the title of that book? The Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Yes, I think. Which I have read and didn't particularly enjoy. So yeah, this will be interesting to see if it's kind of that, because I really like Emily Henry's writing. So maybe I'll enjoy this more than I enjoyed that one, whereas some other people have said this is not as good. So anyway, we'll see. So that's... I didn't even tell you what the book is about. When Margaret Ives, the famously reclusive heiress, which I see why people are comparing it to Evelyn Hugo, invites Alice to the balmy Little Crescent Island, Alice knows this is it, her big break. The catch, Pulitzer Prize-winning human thundercloud Heathen, is sure of the same thing. The proposal, a trial period to unearth the truth behind one of the most scandalous families of the 20th century, after which Margaret will choose who'll tell her story. The problem, Margaret is only giving each of them tantalizing pieces they can't put together because of an ironclad NDA and an inconvenient yearning pulsing between them every time they're in the same room. And it's becoming abundantly clear that their story, just like Margaret's tale, could be a mystery, tragedy, or love ballad, depending on who's telling it. I found a copy of Nesting by Roisin O'Donnell. This is a book that lots of people have been talking about. I think it was longlisted for the Women's Prize maybe this year. So yeah, this was an exciting find. And this is one that I was interested in. I just didn't get around to reading it when we were still talking about the Women's Prize. But this is what it's about. Again, I got this for $5. Bargain. On a bright spring afternoon in Dublin, Kira Fay makes a split-second decision that will change her life. Grabbing an armful of clothes from the washing line, Kira straps her 2 young daughters into the car and drives away, head spinning. All she knows for certain is that home is no longer safe. It was meant to be an escape, but with dwindling savings, no job, and her family across the sea, Kira finds herself adrift, facing a broken housing system and the voice of her own demons. As summer passes and winter closes in, she must navigate raising her children in a hotel room, searching for a new home, and dealing with her husband Ryan's relentless campaign to get her to come back. Because leaving is one thing, but staying away is another. Sounds great. And the last book that I picked up is also somebody who I saw at the South Coast Readers and Writers Festival, interviewing somebody else, or actually I believe she was on a panel that I saw, and that is a book by Hayley Scrivener called Girl Falling. This is a crime, and crime is not a genre that I read a heck of a lot of, so I hadn't been initially kind of like drawn to reading it, but I found this secondhand copy, so I decided to give it a go. Why would my best friend want to destroy my life? Finn and her best friend Daphne have grown up together in the Blue Mountains, bonded by both having lost a younger sister to suicide. They've always had a close, sometimes too close, friendship. Now in their 20s, their lives have finally started to diverge. Daphne is at university and Finn is working in the mountains, as well as falling in love with a beautiful newcomer called Magdu. Unused to sharing Finn, Daphne starts to act up in ways that will allow her to maintain the control over her best friend she's always relished. Then one fateful day, Finn, Daphne and Magdu all go rock climbing, and Magdu falls to her death. Is it suicide or a terrible accident or something more sinister? Bold, dramatic and utterly compelling, Girl Falling forces us to confront the stories we tell ourselves about the people we love, displaying all of Hayley Scrivener's razor-sharp skills for character, landscape and narrative. This is a breathtaking read. So even though it is a crime novel, or like I guess some kind, maybe a thriller, probably more of crime. This sounds interesting to me. And also, I just really enjoyed listening to her speak. She's a very intelligent, funny speaker at the festival, so I thought I would give this a go. So that is the haul. It's a big one. Thank you for sticking around if you've made it this far into the video. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I'm not 100% sure that I'm going to have a video out next week because I'm just about to head off to my trip in the snow, literally tomorrow, at the time of recording this. So I may or may not get time to do another video and have it edited and lined up ready to roll. If not, there might be a gap of a week and then we should be back to our regularly scheduled program. So thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you on the next one whenever that may be. Bye.